While everyone is watching the Federal Reserve, the real earthquake just happened in Seoul. As of this week, February 2026, Samsung has officially kicked off mass production of HBM4 memory chips for Nvidia. The king of memory has finally woken up from its 2-year coma.
Wait, HBM4 already? I thought SK Hynix had that market locked down until at least Q3. If Samsung is shipping HBM4 now, that changes the entire AI supply chain equation. And welcome back to Asia Tech Macro. I'm Maya, looking at the tech world from the founder's seat, and with me is Alex, who is still trying to calculate the yield rates on a 16-layer memory stack.
Yield rates are the only macro indicator that matters in 2026, Maya. But seriously, the news from the Korea Economic Daily and TrendForce is massive. Samsung isn't just planning. They are effectively starting production at their Pyeongtaek campus this month. They've reportedly passed Nvidia's final qualification for the Rubin architecture.
That is a huge turnaround. Remember just 6 months ago, people were writing off Samsung's foundry business. But Alex, let's look at the numbers. Micron is already sold out for 2026. SK Hynix is sold out. If Samsung can actually deliver volume on HBM4, which, by the way, has a per-pen speed of over 11 gigabits per second, they could capture the overflow demand that is currently choking the AI market.
Exactly. It's the spillover trade. But here's the catch. TrendForce is reporting that mass production might still face yield challenges. They're calling it a February launch, but full volume might not hit until Q2. Still, for investors, this signals that the SK Hynix monopoly on premium AI memory is officially over. The supply chain is diversifying, and that means chip prices might, emphasis on might, finally stabilize later this year.
Or it just means Nvidia sells even more Blackwell and Rubin chips because they finally have the memory to run them. Speaking of running AI, we need to talk about where these chips are actually going. It's not just California anymore. There's a new AI capital emerging in Southeast Asia, and it's not Singapore.
You're talking about Johor, Malaysia, the engine room of Asia.
Precisely. For years, Singapore was the undisputed hub for data centers in Southeast Asia. But with their land constraints and energy caps, the action has spilled over the border to Johor Bahru. I was reading a report from Maybank Kimming this morning that estimates total committed investment in Johor data centers has now topped $34 billion.
$34 billion. That's more than the GDP of some small countries. And it's not just small players. We're talking Microsoft, Google, and even ByteDance setting up massive campuses. The Sedenak Tech Park is basically becoming the Ashburn, Virginia of Asia.
It's the perfect arbitrage play. You put your headquarters and sales team in Singapore for the tax breaks and lifestyle, but you put your power-hungry H100 clusters in Johor, where electricity is half the price and land is abundant. It's the Singapore-Johor Special Economic Zone in action.
But here is the risk that nobody is pricing in: water. AI data centers are thirsty. Johor has a history of water rationing. I saw a note from a climate analyst at CIMB warning that if we have another El Niño year in 2026, there could be a direct conflict between cooling these data centers and supplying water to Singapore.
That is a legitimate black swan risk, a water war triggered by ChatGPT. But let's pivot from digital infrastructure to physical movement. Japan's tourism numbers are out for January 2026, and they are weird.
Weird is putting it mildly. The headline number is down. Total visitors dropped 5% year on year, but total spending is up 12%. Japan has accidentally achieved what every tourism board dreams of: quality over quantity.
It's the high value shift. The number of Chinese tour groups has plummeted, down nearly 40% compared to the 2019 peak. But we are seeing a surge in luxury travelers from North America and Europe. The average spending per visitor has crossed 250,000 yen for the first time in history.
And don't forget the dual pricing effect. More restaurants and hotels in Kyoto and Niseko are implementing tiered pricing or foreigner levies. Initially, we thought this would cause a backlash. Instead, it seems to be attracting a wealthier demographic who interpret higher prices as exclusive access.
It's the Veblen good effect of travel. But Alex, does this solve the labor shortage? Japanese hotels are still operating at 80% capacity because they can't find staff. If you have fewer guests paying more, maybe that's the only sustainable model for a shrinking population?
That's the consensus. But the downside is the hollowing out of affordable travel for domestic Japanese tourists. I saw a survey from Nikkei showing that 60% of Japanese families are planning not to travel domestically this Golden Week because hotels are priced for weak yen dollars, not yen salaries.
That is a dangerous social divide. Japan for the global rich, staycations for the locals.
It is, and that creates a political ticking time bomb for the Kishida administration, or whoever is in charge by next month. But speaking of time bombs, let's get to our contrarian corner.
All right, Alex. What is the consensus truth that you are ready to dismantle today?
The consensus is that Southeast Asia is the big winner of the US-China chip war. Everyone says Malaysia, Vietnam, and India will boom as supply chains decouple.
And they aren't? We just talked about Johor booming.
They are winning investment, but they are losing margin. The contrarian view for 2026 is the middle income trap 2.0. These countries are getting the energy-intensive, water-guzzling, low-margin assembly and data center jobs, while the high-value IP and design work stays in the US or goes back to Japan and Korea. Johor gets the heat, California gets the profits.
Ouch. So they are becoming the digital sweatshops of the AI era? That is a harsh take. But looking at the value add per employee in these new fabs, you might be right. It's hardware rich, software poor.
Exactly. The GDP goes up, but the national wealth doesn't necessarily follow. Now, let's wrap this up with the action items. What should our listeners actually do on Monday morning? Action item 1. If you are holding memory stocks, look at the Samsung versus SK Hynix spread. The market is still pricing Samsung at a discount. If the HBM4 yield reports in late February are even halfway decent, that gap will close fast. It's a tactical buy.
Action item 2. For our real estate investors, look at Johor Bahru Residential. With thousands of engineers and data center staff moving in, the rental yields near the Sedenak Tech Park are starting to look like Shenzhen in 2010. But watch the water infrastructure news closely.
And action item 3. If you are in the Japanese hospitality sector, stop chasing volume. Pivot to high-yield experiences. The data shows clearly the volume game is dead. The profit is in the 250,000 yen per guest segment. Raise your prices, upgrade your service, and forget about the tour buses.
Great insights today, Alex. We covered Samsung's comeback, Malaysia's data center boom, and Japan's luxury pivot.
The map of Asia is being redrawn every month. Next week, we're looking at why Indonesia's nickel strategy might be backfiring as battery tech shifts to LFP.
I'll bring the data, you bring the skepticism.
Deal. Thanks for listening to Asia Tech Macro. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave us a review.
Stay data-driven. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.